Hi there, welcome to Mental Health Mondays. I'm Jim Brayshaw,
And I'm Angela.
and we're excited to talk about one of the important topics that's been on a lot of people's minds lately. Today, we're going to talk about stress, which is the silent disease causer, isn't it, Ange?
It is.
It kind of creeps up on people.
Yeah, and it is known to creep up on people.
And what we know about stress is so much now, but in this 10 minutes, we want to give you a few highlights, if you don't mind, because stress is a human reaction to what?
To any change that requires an adjustment or response. Stress is normal, and stress can be good or bad.
Yeah, there's eustress, which is known to be good stress. We need that. We'll talk about that in a couple minutes. And there's the distress, the bad version. And if we just look at that little image in the middle of us on the bottom, there's so many things that can cause stress in our life. Is it family? Is it work? Is it finances? Is it relationships? And health is a big one, isn't it?
It is a big one, and it always has been a big one, but never more than now.
And the body and brain, under stress, they're going to react to the changes. And there's physical, mental, and emotional responses that can almost not be avoided when we really don't address our stress.
Yeah, and if it doesn't get addressed, prolonged stress actually causes inflammation, both in the body and the brain.
And inflammation is one of the biggest drivers of disease. So stress causes inflammation, inflammation causes disease. And we know this now as well, Ange, that when there's ongoing stress and the inflammation, we can put markers actually on our DNA that get passed on to our progeny.
Yeah, our children. So these are the areas of the body and the brain that are affected when we are in stress continually. Heart and lungs, digestion is affected, constriction of blood vessels and the dilation of blood vessels for muscles. What else gets affected?
Yeah, so people get dry mouths and dry eyes, lacrimal and salivary glands, pupils will dilate. It's interesting, the body's preparing for a fight, flight, or freeze response, and it's almost like it's under attack, because it is.
It is.
Yeah, tunnel vision, so we start to focus on the really important things, but sometimes we get distracted from other things. How's your hearing going?
Well, exactly. Those things are all part of it. Dulled reflexes, or you can actually get vibrati. And then vibrati is our made-up term for, you have a cup of coffee in the morning or a cup of tea in the morning, you feel a little bit energized after that. It's like drinking a whole pot for the body. It's just too much stress.
Yeah, I felt vibrati and not knowing what to put a term on it until you taught me about vibrati. Sleep takes a real hit under stress. If we don't know this by now, sleep should be our mistress. And when we have stress affecting it, we must do something to prevent that and deal with our stress.
Yeah, because in order to deal with our stress, our patience and our focus also gets deterred or perhaps maladaptive in some ways, but those are the things that we lose control over sometimes when we're under too much stress for too long.
And we know this stress hormones that surge, they actually really flood the brain. There's the catecholamines, endorphins, adrenaline, norepinephrine, and the big C hormone.
Cortisol. And too much of that on board eventually inflames parts of the brain.
And I'm glad you mentioned that, because we now know that inflammation as a big driver of disease is also one of the underlying causes for so many mental health issues, like depression, depressive disorders, anxiety. And in fact, if we can dampen down our stress, both mentally and physically, we can often dampen down the inflammation.
Absolutely. And we all know this. People who live with chronic health conditions, they know that, in doctors all over the world know that stress adds to that chronic health condition being worsening.
Must reduce our stress. Something we need to know about stress, though, is how much can we take? And so can you take tons of stress every day, Ange?
Not every day, no.
No.
And I don't think most human beings can take it every day, a lot of it.
Right. And so when we think of this human function curve, we see there's optimal performance at the top. But if we're too low on stress, we don't have any stress, good stress, what happens is we're non-performers. We can't perform. Then as we have the stressors and challenges of performance, you see going up the bell curve, we have improvement in our performance. And then all of a sudden we get to the top. So we've went through calm. We've experienced a lot of stress, good stress, where you're energized, you're focused, your work feels effortless. And what happens, Ange, when we start to tip over from the optimal performance?
Well, we get fatigued, or we have ill health, or we could even end up in breakdown or burnout, but definitely exhaustion is the first one. Fatigue and exhaustion are the first two signs.
Yeah, so do we know our tipping point? Do we know when we are experiencing that optimal level and we're just going too far? Because which of us in this city, this province, this country, this globe right now isn't pushing ourselves a little too far? And like we said earlier, this stress creeps up on you and takes over, and we don't really do anything until it's...
Yeah, until we find that fatigue or exhaustion level coming to us.
So there's a few things we want to discuss, what we can do to support ourselves when we're under stress. And it's important we support ourselves by talk.
Yeah, talking, and many coaches, many therapists, counselors use dialectical talk therapy, or just finding someone that you know can support you. You trust them, they trust you, and talking it out with them. That helps our brains process into more adaptive modes.
Talk is magical. And when we know we're under stress, maybe our rhythm has shifted, and that's possibly causing it. And if you can recall the days when you were a little baby, or you have a little baby, and the little baby was out of sorts, a little cranky, finicky, wouldn't eat and wouldn't go to sleep, and then somebody recognized, oh, that baby, maybe that little guy, did he get out of his schedule? Do babies need rhythms?
Absolutely. And we've all heard it, right? We kind of, the term or the phrase is used, somebody needs a nap. That happens to adults too.
They do still say it to me once in a while when I'm out of my rhythm. You're absolutely right. So putting yourself back in a rhythm, why should a baby need a rhythm? A little person need a rhythm? We're less little people now. Maybe we still need a rhythm as humans, and let's find where our rhythm has shifted.
And part of that is identifying the pieces. So if I can identify exactly what piece at work is stressing me, what piece of that relationship is stressing me, what piece of at home life is stressing me, just identifying it helps our brains process again and adapt a little bit better.
Yeah, break it down to its smallest parts and identify what's causing me stress. And sometimes we miss out on self-care. A quick note on self-care, Ange, if you don't mind, before we go to micro goals. But self-care is so important. How is it different than self-maintenance?
Well, self-maintenance is something we do every day. A lot of people exercise or they do yoga or meditation every day. Self-care is just a little bit out of that realm where you take a special time, set it aside for yourself, and do something just for yourself that means something for you.
For you, something just for yourself. So self-care is not what? It's not a democracy. No. So that's important to know, but it's also important to know we want to find out how we can move through our stress. Is it a way we can take bite-sized chunks? Because we often take really big pieces and make them goals, and they're hard to complete, these tasks or goals. So what we like to talk about with you is micro goals, a very simple process. A micro goal is a goal that's so small you can't not do it, and so easy to do you can't fail at it.
Yeah, it's impossible to fail at a micro goal, and that's where we start because it's good for our brains. First, it needs to be manageable. Right? And then it needs to be individualized. That means just solely for you. It needs to be clear, concise, and certain. So there can be no mistaking this is what I'm doing. And repeatable, Jim.
And repeatable. And can I do it again? And can I do it again? And is it easy and simple and small enough that it's not overwhelming and I can do it again? The micro goal is so important, folks, that we pick something that almost is ridiculous how easy it is to do, but what does it do to our neural pathways to eventually accomplish a greater goal, Ange?
Well, it begins a new neural pathway that enhances our adaptive capacities for adapting into a rhythm change. So that micro goal is so important because it becomes a medium goal and perhaps a macro goal at the end of the day.
Yeah, and one of the examples we've seen with micro goals is individuals who want to start jogging. Somebody we spoke with, what they did for a week because they couldn't actually get their goal and start the running, they would, I'm taking my shoes and I'm putting them by the front door today. I'm going to do it again tomorrow. And then they did it for a week, and then they took the next piece of that goal because your body and brain said, look, I accomplished my goal. It's really a bit of a magical little formula.
Yeah, even if it's not tangible, it is something the brain picks up and makes a new neural pathway about.
So we are at the end of our time together for this Mental Health Monday. Thank you for stopping to learn a bit about stress with us. If you have any questions, you can email them to the moderator and we'll happily answer those questions. But we just want you to know, next time we visit, we're going to talk about anxiety, and we're so grateful to spend this time. Anything else to add, Ange?
No, have a good Monday.
Have a great Monday.
Thank you.